time in a long time, you're able to actually be a player and contribute to the Gears of War universe by creating your own hives, proving that you can beat your own hive, and then you can put it out there to challenge your friends.
What's the discoverability of finding hives that other players have built?
Yeah, it'll be out there right on the UI. Like, so right in the front end, there'll be this idea of we'll have featured hives, and then we'll have community hives, and we're looking at like how we sort of have the right ones bubble to the top in terms of how we look at them, and we'll actually start, once we are able to look at them, we can start featuring community hives too. So there'll be one thing we're really pushing for. We want people, that idea, like, user-generated content has not really been a big thing for Gears of War. Like back in Gears 1 PC, we kind of basically shipped the Unreal Editor, which is super hard to get into if you don't do that stuff normally. So this is more of a sort of like the way that you think about clicking tracks together. The fact that it's almost a 2D editor, and you got to build a hive.
Yep.
And
I made it super hard.
And that's part of the fun, and that's one of the things we want to do is you have to play it and prove that you can beat it before you can put it out there, because we don't want people just building impossible hives.
Yeah, I actually really like that too. So if you build an impossible hive and you beat it, then you have like the best bragging rights. It's like, hey, well, if I can beat it, then you can find a way.
Right.
You're telling me you can't beat it?
Yeah.
I just did.
Exactly.
So how do you make a difficult hive? Like what makes it so difficult?
Well, so it depends on what you want from your challenge. If it's a very long one with like fast venom that's kind of pushing you forward, or if it's you're putting down like these very tough enemies, say like 13 snipers in one room, which is what I did with fast venom. Also other like with low ammo and stuff. So like there's a lot of ways you can construct that to be very, very difficult. But
it's kind of what we do in the game too. Like the game, when you think about creating an encounter, even the campaign, like when you create an encounter, you're thinking about enemy sort of variation, and what if I have, the Scion with, like, now in our cases we have like the Sire and the Warden, and you have snipers and hunters with torque bows. Like how you work that and play that out in terms of like because we talk about having flushers and pinners. You have things that charge you to get you out of cover, and we have things like a sniper that'll try to keep you in cover. And as you mix and match those, you can create a really unique challenge. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be in cover because there's snipers, but all these juvies are jumping on me, so I got to get out of cover, and how do I balance that? So there's a lot of different ways, from the way you use your mutators to also your enemy sort of layout, and how much loot do you put in the world, because part of it is exploration.
Yeah.
And so you can kick open a door and find a boom shot, and that might help you, but if you're making it really hard, then that boom shot's not there.
And so a thing I do want to talk about, because it's not just the most easy thing to see if you're not really paying attention to the gameplay, there's some significant weapon changes here and how gunplay works.
Yeah, totally. That's one of the things we sort of reimagined gunplay for Gears of War. So we used to think about it must be a big reticle that kind of sprayed within it, and now we're actually much more precise, and we actually put that on the recoil of the weapon. And it's a predictable recoil, so you can actually get both the guns now have a personality because each have their own recoil pattern, and now and it's learnable, so it creates another kind of skill gap where you can go, oh, when I shoot the Enforcer, it kind of pulls this way, so I can counter it and make it more accurate, and I can learn each weapon in its unique way of playing. And it just makes it a much more contemporary shooter, and we actually really leaned into the idea that headshots are really important. And it was something we started on really early with Escape, was that, body shots will do less damage, and headshots will do more damage. And because we really wanted to get that play going, and we realized like this is actually working really, really well, that we sort of took that through the rest of the game. It's also the notion of numbers too. Like I think one of the things we really wanted to get into is with health bars and numbers that you're seeing with Escape in particular, is because you're getting cards and skills, you're making changes. Like, oh, my weapon is now 12% more powerful, and we wanted you to be able to see that number change from 100 to 112. So like, oh, I see the benefit of what I'm doing. So it creates more visibility in how your character is changing.
I would have never really thought about that, but that does feel like so satisfying to be able to actually apply something and directly see the result.
Yeah, and you see it in the reticle. So one of the big things is when you hit, you'll see the reticle go white and with a little X coming out of it. When you hit a weak spot, or like say a headshot, it'll go red. If you hit a weak spot or a headshot with active reload, it'll go gold. And then when the creature dies, then it actually will blow out with a big white X to tell you that you actually got a kill. So kind of just watching the reticle now will tell you everything you need to know.
So are there boss fights, or is it only waves of enemies?
So this is a progression. It's kind of like a dungeon run in a way, and so it's really up to whoever builds the hive. Like in this case, the flock that you're seeing there is kind of the boss of this hive.
Yeah, definitely feels like a boss.
Definitely looks very difficult.
It's very challenging.
Yeah, and the more mutators, like it wasn't so bad when it had more health, but when it started doing more damage, that's when it became pretty devastating to the group. And the fact that it's a flock of leeches makes it interesting. But yeah, so it really comes down to how we do the layouts. We didn't want to be like predictably every room at the end always has to have this, but so you might end up with like a bunch of mini bosses, or you might have one big boss, or you might not have it at all, depending on the challenge the player's creating or the designer's creating.
And then at the bottom, I see there's kind of I'm assuming that's her ultimate.
Correct.
Can you go over what each of the ultimates are for the characters?
Sure. So each character has its own ultimate. So Lonnie, you saw there, has an Electroblade knife, and you have, she's the one that's on the front line. She's the one that's like really being aggressive. Then you have Keegan, who's the support. He does an ammo crate and basically resupplies the team. And you're ammo starved pretty much throughout this, so it's really important to use that. And then Mac is kind of the tank. He's got a barrier shield that he can use to defend if you have to get somebody back up, or you have to go and do, or you're facing off against a bunch of snipers and those sorts of things. So those three characters and how you work that sort of the scout, frontliner, the support, and the tank, and use their skills back and forth, because at different times each one will be the most important.
Now, you gave us a release date. You showed us Escape. You also announced the Terminator character pack.
Right.
Now that comes with the pre-order?
Yeah, it's two ways to get that. So basically, either you pre-order the game, or if you play the first week, so from September 6th to September 16th. And that's for people who are in Game Pass who are not going to pre-order, because they're going to get it to show up, light up on their dashboard on day one. And so if they play, they're able to get the T-800, as you see here, as a character, as well as Sarah Connor, as she's seen in the Terminator Dark Fate movie, as you see here. Yeah, and it's great. And we also have a bunch of customization stuff coming from the Dark Fate movie itself. And we've been working with Sundance and Paramount on these characters, and it's really exciting. When you're in video games, you kind of you have to love the Terminator. It's just sort of the thing you always go back to.
The rite of passage.
And yeah, exactly. And so when we thought about Kate's journey and how she's gone from an outsider to this sort of warrior now inside of the COG, it really kind of resonated really well with the idea of what happened with Sarah, and going from, okay, I'm just a civilian, and now I'm bringing the fight to the future in a way. And so we really felt there was a good match between Sarah and Kate, and so we really wanted to tie in and have that partnership and bring those characters.
Now, we don't have too much time, but you guys do have a partnership with E-League, correct?
We do.
And you're showing stuff at the end of this week?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I mean, the big thing for us is really going to be in July when we do our tournament. But the episodes are starting to air. They're going to be, I think we're doing a preview of one of the episodes, I think, coming up soon. And then it's basically, have Gears of War be on national television and esports. And what I love about it is Rose and her team, the way that they're doing the content is really about not just focusing on the gameplay, but it's actually focused on the players and the fans, and getting to see how players' journeys go from, maybe tough times to now they're having great success as a player, and what Gears of War means to them beyond, this entertainment, game. It's actually something that they're making a living at, or it gave them some structure, or it gave them a community, and it gave them a friend group. And seeing these people take these journeys is I'd liken it to the Olympics. There's not a lot of triathletes. Maybe I know, right? But when you watch the Olympics and you see their backstory, now I care and I want them to win.
Exactly. It becomes something else.
Totally. And this is what the E-League is going to bring. They follow 6 different players, and you get to see their stories, and you get to see the rivalries, and then you get to see them play Gears 5. It's going to be exciting.
That's such a great way to end it, too. It's just we know you and we care about you now, and we really want to see you play, and then you get to round out with Gears 5 gameplay. Right? That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Rod. Gears 5 hits Xbox One and Windows PC September 10th, and I personally cannot wait to play it. I'm sure we'll have plenty of coverage on IGN. Damon, tell us what's coming up next.
When we come back, we've got a big exclusive chunk of Borderlands 3 gameplay showing off Moze the Gunner on a never-before-seen planet. But first, let's dig into the new E3 trailer from Gearbox's looter shooter. IGN Live at E3 2019 continues right after this.
E3 2019 is upon us and brought with it a brand new look at